Welcome to Peace at Home. I'm Aaron Weintraub, Chief Product Officer, one of our teachers, and I am so thrilled today to be here with a Peace at Home parent and one of our team members, Lisa Day Lewis. And we're here to talk about supporting parents, supporting families during Pride Month, which is coming up here in June. And of course, we don't want to make this just a once a year event. But this is a good time to take stock and evaluate efforts individually and as groups to support people and be inclusive, and to set intentions for the full year. So I'm grateful to have you here, Lisa.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I wanted to, first of all, just start by asking you to share a little bit about why you're part of this conversation today, what you bring to this from your professional or personal experience.
Yeah, definitely. So I really started thinking more about allyship and just being an advocate for youth and just people in general in the LGBTQ plus community. About 2 years ago, my son was questioning his gender identity, and he eventually did come out as transgender. And it just really drew me into the community as far as I wanted to learn everything I could do to support him. And I wanted to make sure, I could be an advocate for him in the community. And just looking around, I realized that advocates were needed in my area. So I just broadened my horizons from there. And, I've kind of really committed to being a voice for people in the community and in our area in Connecticut. I did start a group back in December of last year for parents of LGBTQ plus youth. And it's been growing. And I definitely see the need for more resources for the community in our area.
And so what if you were to identify one or two of the most asked questions or the issues that you find that parents come to your group looking for support on, what would you say that parents are most often wondering or curious about or struggling with?
I think parents want to help their kids, and it can be when you first, when your child first expresses to you that they're questioning their gender or their sexuality. It can be overwhelming at first because you don't know where to look and you don't know who to talk to, and it can feel very alone. So one of the first things that we try to share with people is that you're not alone. There's a lot of families that exist in the community, and that we are here to support each other. And the way that support looks like is a lot of it. At first, it's just education, because these are things that might not be familiar to us from when we grew up, or things that you don't just learn about in your day-to-day lives. But once you know where to look, there's a lot of resources out there. And there's a lot of organizations that are really great with providing free resources to parents, to schools, and to communities. And I think too, you see more and more events being hosted during Pride Month, specifically in towns, where you can go and you can get information, you can connect with other parents and people in the community so that feeling isn't so prominent, that you can feel like you're part of a community and you can get help and support where it's needed.
So going into Pride Month, where the conversation is just going to be more visible for a child who may be, on a journey of discovering their own sexuality or gender, it may be more top of their mind. If a parent feels like that's an important conversation to invite or be open to, or even initiate with their child, they sense that this is something that they've been working through. Do you have any advice about how to be open or signal openness to that conversation with the child?
Yeah, I definitely do. And I honestly think that it's important for all parents to become familiar with having that conversation, whether or not they think their child is on a specific gender journey, because to be an ally and to support the community, normalizing conversation, normalizing, being, on the, uh, somewhere on the spectrum of sexuality or gender is, we're all on that spectrum somewhere. So it's just, saying you're LGBTQ plus, you identify more strongly with, yes, I'm like more further on this end of the spectrum, but we're all on it somewhere. So being an ally means to say, like, I'm comfortable having this conversation. I'm comfortable with you exploring your gender or sexuality, and I'm comfortable making you feel like you're accepted, where you are in your journey. Using pronouns or asking people's pronouns, even if, it might seem, um, obvious to you that somebody might use a certain set of pronouns. It's not always the case. So just making, kind of regular use of asking that question of people is really great for helping people feel accepted. I know my son, whenever anyone asks pronouns at a store or a restaurant, it really just makes his day. So, I have never seen anyone really get offended at that question. So it's like, why not make it common practice kind of thing? And yeah, just, kind of being a voice of positivity and acceptance whenever you can. Yeah, so just being a voice of positivity and acceptance wherever you can.
Yeah, I love that. So in some ways, allyship is really just about being a decent human, right? Like you call people what they want to be called, to make the effort to understand what what their preferences are and what makes them comfortable, and then honor that. But one of the things I appreciate so much about you, Lisa, is that in addition to that allyship piece, which is so important, I think I see you working professionally and personally to go beyond that to solidarity, whereas allyship is language. Solidarity is about doing the work and taking on the issue of bigotry as your own, even though you may not necessarily ever fully understand the damage it does to people going through that on a personal level. It's that being in solidarity with them, in addition to the allyship piece, that I see as so valuable in the work that you're doing in the community. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, I came across this term once in a webinar that I took that was hosted by the Association for Suicide Prevention, who they're actively involved in supporting LGBTQ plus youth because of the high rates of depression and suicide. So they do host a lot of free events, and they use the term radical allyship.
Mm.
And it's really going beyond, yeah, I mean, like, it's great when I see people wear like a pride bracelet or hanging out a pride flag, and just showing that you are an ally. But taking it a step further means that if you see somebody that might be being labeled and to be made to feel uncomfortable or misgendered, or you kind of see something going on that you feel like might be making that person uncomfortable, being able to stand up for them and say, oh, that person might be using different pronouns, or or you could just ask in front of it, oh, what pronouns do you use? And then, it kind of shows the other person that maybe they made an assumption. Or if somebody uses certain pronouns and somebody else uses the wrong pronouns in their presence, just like, politely correcting them, and, not making it a big deal, but just saying, oh, actually, like, they use he, him pronouns. And then it just kind of affirms the other person and makes them feel like seen. And it might seem like a small thing, but it's actually, for that person, it's a really big deal to have somebody like stand up and advocate for them.
Yeah. Thank you. One of the things that gives me hope is I run a high school group professionally, and the kids in that group, no matter how many times I forget when I introduce a new person, always remember to ask them for their preferred pronouns. And it's just, become culturally part of what they do. And so that always makes me feel good when I see that. Well, thank you for being on today. I know that, partly through your work to nudge us into further into allyship, into what did you call it? Radical allyship.
Radical
So, yeah.
allyship.
One of the small things that we're doing is being sure to put on programming during June to support parents. We have a variety of classes that are available around just having meaningful conversations and open dialogue with your child. We have a specific class around how to communicate love and acceptance to your child coming up June 23rd. And hopefully more to be announced. And certainly I look at this as a kickoff, not just a once a month thing, but a kickoff into a deeper radical allyship, hopefully here at Peace at Home Parenting. So thank you, Lisa, for being on and sharing your valuable advice and experience with us.
Great, anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you.